Well, hey everybody, this is Don at Wizard Tower Games. Thanks for tuning into my latest video. As you all can see, I have on screen to me, I have Eric Tenkar, Tom Veralt, Eric from Tenkar's Tavern, and Tom from Tabletop Tap Room. You're back to the Tabletop Tap Room, correct?
Yes.
All
I got
right.
feedback that said they hated the new name. She's laughing off screen.
You had the ultimate feedback, the wife.
Wow, you got vetoed.
I'd rather have peace than be right.
That's true.
Oh,
Oh, you'll pay. Tammy, don't worry. The video will be over soon. You can take care of this when we're done. You know.
you're married. That means you don't get the opportunity to be right. So
That's right.
That's her quote. I'd rather have peace than be right. And
That's right.
unfortunately, I'm right all the time.
You're right a lot.
Ooh. Well, in tonight's video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking a little bit about. We're going to be doing. First of all, we're going to be doing the first giveaway. I'm going to be giving away a couple of goodies to people who subscribe to us. And through the course of February and March, I'm going to be doing more giveaways. I'm giving away a Wacom tablet to those of you watching. You have to be a subscriber to win. I'll be giving away things like some AD&D Orange Spine manuals, a Deities and Demigods 144-page Call of Cthulhu version I'm giving away. Whether you're old school gamer or not, you can't really gripe about that giveaway. That's a heck of a nice little
that's
game
cool.
product. Going to be giving away homemade dice dice bags courtesy of my wife. How you doing, RPG Grandma? And also going to be giving away. Oh, geez, what am I not giving away? Oh, sometime before the end of March, we're giving away what we call the Willy Wonka Golden Ticket. Now, what the Willy Wonka Golden Ticket is it is basically, if your name is drawn, you will get one of every single item that Wizard Tower Games releases in 2024. So
wow, that's cool.
Yep. The guests cannot win. You know what? I already bribed them for coming on my show, so they're already paid to come on. So I just can't sit there and RPG Grandma, no problem. Just drive safe. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about backstories. I see it's kind of a hit and miss subject I notice online. Some people are very much for it. Some people are against it. And I notice it's kind of weird because most of the time when you see pro and con type things online regarding D&D, it has to do with age range. Like you have like the old school guys like us, then you have the newer players, and usually it's drawn by that line. But I notice it's kind of like all over the place as far as backstories or not. So I guess what I'll do is I'll start to my right, but your left. So Eric, real quick, what's your take on backstories? Good, bad, indifferent? If so, if not, what?
I don't really like backstories. I think the best backstory is a very minimal backstory. Your old school gaming, your character is a product of what they accomplished, not what they did before they started. Right? You become a hero. You don't start as a hero.
Yeah,
so,
but wouldn't a backstory help? I guess as the DM, wouldn't it help me if all three of us are playing? Wouldn't a backstory, a little bit of one, help me more craft an adventure or something that caters more to your liking?
For me, I want my character to evolve during play. So my backstory is going to be, I'm a dwarf. Yeah, listen, the Tenkar decided to travel the wider world. That's his whole backstory. What now? Maybe as play goes on, maybe I decide, all right, well, you know what? I caused some problems back in my dwarven town and had to leave. But I don't want to be the asshole that's like, oh, well, I'm like the third son of a lost prince, and because more backstories than should tend to have people writing in a powerful background or MacGuffin into their backstory, and I have issues with that. So I don't want to 3-paragraph backstory. If I get 3 sentences from my players, that's probably more than I want, but I'll take it. 1 sentence is probably about it. I just
Gotcha. Hey, Thraxis, thanks for tuning in. Tom, what's your take?
Well, I've heard about the 5-page backstories, and I'm not into that, but I do like, and my experience might be a little bit different from Tenkar, and that I'm really thinking about it in terms of the Star Frontiers games I've run, where I was like really trying to get players to root their character into the setting. And so I did mechanical things like, if you get an experience point, if you've got a character picture, you get an experience point if you create an NPC contact in the setting. So create an NPC that may or may not help you out. You create that, and then create a secret that your character has that you're free to share it with the other players, but you don't have to, but you do have to share it with me. And so I did some mechanical things like that, but it was for one EXP, which is kind of big. If you got 3 EXP during character creation like that, that could be as much as a in primary skill area skill, certain circumstances, under certain skill systems. So that was kind of a big deal to get those 3 EXP, and players would do it. I like to see a good 3-paragraph backstory, but I've not had people write themselves in to be, yes, my father was Lord of the Frontier, and yeah, he left me a spaceship. Nobody ever did that, but I did get people write secrets like, yeah, I committed murder, and that's why I had to leave town. And I was like, oh, I see all kinds of way I can use this secret in the game. And so I kind of like a little bit of backstory. But I also hear Tenkar because I think Professor Dungeon Master's big on the 1-sentence backstory. You were a gong farmer. I think he actually wrote into his Deathbringer RPG, like a table, and it's all these like peasant jobs, like gong farmer, which is the guy who goes around and shovels the crap. Yeah. I mean, how's that for a backstory? You were the gong farmer, now you're a fighter.
Thank you. Well, the thing with me is I like backstories, but I'm kind of in the middle. I don't like a big long backstory. I think just something real brief. I'm kind of into the, so just keep it like maybe a 1 little paragraph backstory. Just give me some real basics. The one thing I don't like about backstories, and you see this a lot when people create them, is they always come from aristocracy. They always there's always some crazy thing. Instead of just keeping it real simple, like RPG Rama said, the KIS principle, keep it simple. Like with me, I may do a backstory like my character was orphaned as a child because their village was raided by goblins, and that's why my character innately hates goblins, and their parents were killed by goblins, and that's kind of like how I just leave it. You know what I mean? But I agree. I just don't like the really huge, massive, when they give you a book.
Yeah, no.
Optional rule. Thank you. Hello. Welcome to the channel. Dad was killed in the last war. Just little things like that, because to me, the whole purpose of the backstory is not so much for you. It's more, I think, for the DM to kind of pull into the game something that kind of rotates around you. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but yeah, and I think too much can also cause a lot of problems depending on what they do in adventure hooks and backstories.
I look at backstory as a way to leverage a little bit of role play, in that one of my favorite backstories, particularly if I'm playing a priest or a cleric, is that I was kicked out. Okay, because I had that experience in the real world. I've been kicked out of a seminary. So Tammy hates when I bring that up. So
badge of honor.
So I'm like, I was kicked out of seminary.
Or scarlet letter, depending on how you look at it, but okay.
Where my bad boy leathers. Yeah. So I like that backstory. I like to explore it a little bit. In the sci-fi setting, I like playing a Azarian priest who is kicked out of the family of one. And so that sets him up to be kind of a little bit of a martyr, and to be the guy who stands up for what is good and for what's right, and be a little bit of a paladin, but he's a little troubled. And because, he's a little bit depressed. I understand that depression of having, the feeling that depression. I can play the guy, that, all right, he's turning a little bit to alcohol here, and he's got he needs a good kick in the butt to get him moving in the right direction. And so I like that backstory. It's something I've actually tried to play multiple times.
Gotcha. Now, I know the subject of backstory is not something we're going to be able to get any real time out of in a show because, let's face it, I mean, either you're pretty much for it or not for it. But, I have something else I want to talk about. Something I seen on Facebook today, and it kind of bugs me because I see more and more of this. And let's face it, the three of us, we are in. I mean, I'm 56. I know Eric and me are real close in age. You're Tom,
right.
what?
You have to do the
30?
math now. I'm 56 also. Yeah, holy shit.
Tom, how old are you?
I'm gonna be 56 on March 14th.
See, we're all in right around that 56, mid-50s age range.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's something that I notice that's very much in common with our age group, and that is there is a core element online of individuals who think that Dungeons and Dragons has been ruined. Okay? Now, I am not trying to start a big shit show about Wizards of the Coast and the sins they've committed because we know that the sins that Wizards of the Coast have committed are many, and we all frankly could all do a 3-hour show each and make it a day-long thing talking
I think
about
we've all covered the shit show at Wizards of the Coast.
But I saw this online today by a guy, and it really kind of burned my goat when I seen it because this attitude, and that is this guy right here. I'm not posting his picture. It was in the first edition Advanced D&D. It says, "Good news, everyone! Dragonlance is dead." Now, for those of you watching this video that don't know, and I think Eric covered it, and maybe Tom did, but it's where basically, Eric, can you give a little backstory to the whole Dragonlance is dead thing?
Yeah.
With the backstory.
Joe Manganiello, the biggest D&D fan gamer in Hollywood, probably, wrote what he says was an amazing pilot screenplay for the Dragonlance. It was going to be an on-demand series, probably through WotC, but probably for either Netflix or Amazon Prime, one of the two biggies. And he showed the script around, and everybody he showed it to in the industry loved it. And WotC killed the product or the project. Now, he doesn't say why they killed it. But he does hint at the end of the article that when he's interviewed, that he was hoping that if there was a change in leadership at WotC or a change of ownership, the project might come back. He actually tried to get investors to buy Dragonlance, but WotC said it wasn't for sale. And just as a little going out there on a limb, if you own physical property, if you own a building and you have renters, generally before you sell it, you want the renters out. You don't want contracts that are going to be part of it. Well, if WotC is trying to sell D&D, or if Hasbro is looking to put WotC up for sale or spin it off, they're going to want to do that with at least number of external contracts, tangling things up. Don't know if that's the reason. I'm just spitballing, and I was spitballing when I covered it. But that's the background on it. And I know the people that are kind of happy are like, well, that means they won't get a chance to ruin Dragonlance. I don't know.
I rather doubt that Joe would have ruined Dragonlance.
Exactly.
But also on the same token, I mean, the thing I threw out about that, I think I posted this on your video, Eric, was, if Joe, let's face it, Joe is very well known. He's a well respected and liked gamer.
Yep.
And let's face it, he would be, and I'm not trying to diss on anybody, because just for the record, she's always been very nice to me when I've had talked with her online, but I think that he would be a much better face to D&D than Satine Phoenix.
Oh, by leaps and bounds.
But the thing
Yeah.
is like I said on your video, Eric, was the thing with Joe is that if, and this is where I think that if it's true, okay, because let's face it, I'm a writer. I think I'm a good writer. Every
Mhm.
writer thinks he's a good writer.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of guys write screenplays and they think they're God's gift to screenwriting. But
I
let's just
read
say,
real good.
yeah. Well, I mean, you got a little. We're a little bit of narcissistic egomaniacs when it comes to our writing. I admit it. But the thing is if he did have this, and Watsy declined it, I think they would have made it. They made a big mistake, and the reason why is I think that you have a man who's well liked, well respected, is a good face for Dungeons and Dragons brand.
Right.
He's very very fan friendly,
Yeah.
and if he had everything he claimed that he had a finished manuscript. He claimed he had people willing to financially back it. He had people willing to back it news wise. If he had all of that, why would Wizards of the Coast, let's just say, Eric, they're not selling D&D, that's all bullshit and
Right.
rumor. Let's say that it's just they just decided they don't want to do it. What could the common sense thinking be? Because they would actually have probably a minimal investment in it, and it's a product or an IP that even by their own admission they're not really pushing heavy. Why not?
Agreed. However, again, that's part of the reason why I'm again theorizing the possibility that something may be for sale, and they don't want to have these contracts attached to it. But also, remember, they dumped E1 for a loss of like $3 billion or something like that.
Yeah.
They dumped E1 in 2023 and have essentially withdrawn from doing all of these projects. So that might be part of it. It might be too. We saw Hasbro today, their earnings call.
Yeah,
Uh,
their earnings dropped big.
Earnings dropped big, and they expect that WotC is going to be facing a 3 to 5% decline in revenue. Hasbro in a larger decline, but WotC for 2024, 3 to 5% in the year that you're launching the new edition of or whatever.
And
New
let's get
Forever
something
edition.
real clear. I'm not trying to interrupt you, Eric, but
Yeah.
people that are watching this need to understand something. When Eric says 3 to 5%, you may be sitting in your chair right now going, "What's the big fucking deal? It's 3 to 5%." And I'm not monetized, so
Right.
so the thing is you have to understand in the corporate world, 3 to 5% drop in revenue is something that gets people's eyes perking and the accountants going, "Ooh, that's not good."
But the loss for Hasbro is even larger. Hasbro's expecting numbers that are, I think, double digits.
Yeah, they were saying in the 12 to 15% range.
That's huge.
Elk of Antioch makes a good comment, and I was going to bring up this point: is it possible that Joe's not woke enough for them?
Well,
Because they've had a definite bend in a certain direction, and I'm not trying to be political. I'm just saying,
no,
is he not enough in that direction for them?
Well, let's clarify something about this
that's a good
channel,
point.
okay? We talk about everything here, okay? There's no taboo subject, and people are allowed to have their opinions. And I think you bring up a really valid point. Eric, you're going to say something. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, yeah. Weiss and Hickman are both Mormons. All right,
Yes.
so they have. There are. Word is, and this is a strong rumor, that the holdup on the Dragonlance novels that were recently published, there was a lawsuit and all that stuff involved before the because Wati was not going to allow that to go forward initially. And the rumors had it that they weren't. I'm gonna use very careful language, not because of monetization, but just because I don't want to get a social shitstorm. They wouldn't update Dragonlance to modern sensibilities of the current culture would expect. So
But
read
see,
into that as you will. Maybe there were those expectations that Joe was going to have to write that stuff into it. Maybe he said that's not the setting. That's not what I'm writing, and that might have been another impetus to.
it could have been, yeah, because Margaret Weiss announced today, she showed the photo of it. She showed the full wrap art for her new book, Dragonlance book.
Mhm.
So, if you guys want, let me go find this real quick, and I'll let you guys pull it up. Pull your guys, continue discussion real quick while I find her post real quick. I'd like to show Buddy this.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of questioned that. Again, he's too white, he's too straight. But he was on Critical Role. I don't think they're too white and too straight. They seem a little bit more open and accepting.
Right.
And he was on Critical Role, and honestly, concerning how he would handle Dragonlance, you have to give him props for when he stole the hand of Vecna, he left them with their mouths open and on the table. He left Mercer and company with their jaws hanging open, and he just said, hey, strictly business, nothing personal, and he walked out on them. I mean, it's a great. You can Google that on YouTube and just go see it. It's a great scene, he just killed that. And somebody who could do that, leave Mercer and company with their jaws on the table. He's not going to flippantly handle Dragonlance. He's not going to screw it up.
Were you
he
worried?
Thinks deeply about this stuff, and he would have done justice.
But do you think WotC maybe was worried that maybe he would be too popular of an emissary or a face?
Well, maybe he would have shown up the half-assed movie they did.
Well, and there is that possibility. Somebody else, Anon, if Dragonlance gets really popular, fans will expect Dragonlance to be the center of the gaming settings. And they have other plans. Remember, when it comes to modern day WotC, there is only one setting, Forgotten Realms. Every other setting that they have brought back has been shoehorned into the Forgotten Realms. Mm-hmm. So even Dragonlance is now part of the Forgotten Realms to whatever extent the last part of
Philip Ehrlich, who's a very well-known artist in the RPG publisher realms, published this, and this was actually posted. Margaret Weiss shared it. This is the new cover, I guess, for Dragons of Eternity. Wow. So very cool cover. I can see where his wrap is at, because if you take a look at it, right at the hook of his wing is where the spine is going to be of the book. In fact, let me see if I can pull this up full screen. There we go. So yeah, that is the new cover for it, and and this is vetted by Margaret Weiss. I got this from Margaret Weiss's page. So, so what's really interesting to me is they're proceeding with the world, but the thing is, the comment that was made by that guy was Dragonlance is dead. But more importantly, what got me was to have a gamer of our age take happiness and glee that anything D&D related is gone or destroyed. Let's say he's right. Let's say they announced they're getting rid of Dragonlance. Why would a gamer of our age, I'm just going to say our age because I'm picking on three old guys sitting here. Mm-hmm. Why would one of us be happy that this would happen? I mean, to me, immature. I don't agree with a lot of stuff that WotC does with D&D, okay? I admit it, okay? I don't like a lot of the things that they do with new player characters. I don't like some of the new rules and such. But on the same token, I am anything that brings people into the game in a positive way,
right,
is a good thing to me. And I follow Gary Gygax, the man himself's own rules, and that is the nice thing about D&D, and this is one of the things I argue online a lot about. Why is D&D so popular? What made role-playing games so popular? Mainly D&D. It was real simple, and that was, if Eric did not like a rule in the book and I did, Eric doesn't have to have that rule in the book in his game. I can. And if Tom wants to make his own rules up in his own setting, Tom can do that. And that's what Gary basically said, is if you don't like it, don't play with it. If you want to change it, change it. Just be consistent. And there's this push online, and I'm sorry, I see it. I mean, we knock younger players for being woke and whatnot, but I see a lot of older gamers too practicing the same reverse psychology on it, going, I don't like it, so I'm glad it's going to be gone.
It's a form of gatekeeping.
Yeah.
And listen, you can gatekeep your personal group, and you probably should. You know, you vet people before you allow them in, but the community as a whole and gaming in general, you can't keep people out. And just the attempt to do so makes you look like an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
It's so ineffectual. And it probably has the opposite effect. But to say, yeah, great, Dragonlance is dead. Dragonlance isn't dead.
Oh no, far from it.
No, what is currently dead or uh, on pause is a live action series, which would
Yep.
have been. I listen. If you are a Tolkien fan, and Rings of Power was disappointing, um, I didn't get to the first episode, and I had no desire to watch anything
I
further.
watched I watched 3/4 of the first episode and was like,
Yeah, I mean, it's not written for me, but it's not being written for fans of Lord of the Rings. It's just using Lord of the Rings as a selling point, but it really isn't
yeah,
selling to those fans.
yeah.
But Dragonlance with Joe behind it would be selling to fans of Dragonlance. Now, when I was was younger, when Dragonlance was a thing, I knew people that were reading Dragonlance that weren't gamers. I knew people that were reading
Yep.
Dragonlance and then became gamers. It was like an entry drug to
Mm-hmm.
tabletop RPGs,
Hmm.
um, more so than computer gaming ever was.
Yep.
Nowadays, I think that things like Critical Role or other quote live plays on YouTube and beyond are the ways a lot of people are seeing it. But you would think that the Shannara series was a horror. Another one I couldn't get through the first episode. Um, what's the Wheel of Time?
Wheel
I
of
re-
Time. Yeah.
I made it through the first season, and it really I was surprised it was renewed because it I didn't really like it. It wasn't horrible, but I didn't like any of the characters. None of and it did. And I read the books like 20, 30 years ago, but I couldn't. It wasn't like I was looking at anything and going, "This looks familiar."
Mm-hmm.
Dragonlance. I expect that if Joe was involved in it as a gamer who hasn't read those books in what 30, 40 years, I
Yeah.
would be watching that live action series and going, I remember that scene. I remember that.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Because that's the notes that he was going to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, um, is Dragonlance something that would have been affordable to make? That's another question. Would it have been something that would have been a money loser? If WotC was no longer producing it, if they were only going to license it, then they're not in the hook for anything.
Well, but
So,
also let's take a look at how usually WotC markets their campaign settings. I right before Christmas I went to Barnes and Noble and I just
mhm,
wandered over to the D&D section, of course. And here we got D&D 5e, and they literally, instead of putting out a campaign setting, they literally break out like 10 or 15 books. I'm being exaggerating, of course,
right,
but they do, instead of doing one 400-page book, they do 5 or 6 300-page books. And you start opening the pages up, and I see where they're doing it. They really they'll take a 250-page book. They actually only have 150 pages of content because the rest is they put large color artwork trying to fill up that
yep,
volume and make it appear more than what it is.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot of filler art,
yeah,
and
dandelion fluff.
right,
You
and
know
they
they
haven't done a new setting since Eberron. And that
yeah,
was third edition, and that wasn't even written in house. That was a contest, so they haven't written an in-house
yeah.
setting since I don't know, Dark Sun, Birthright, at the 2E era.
Hmm.
So I mean, that's something to think about. Excuse me, think about too.
Yep. And see, the
So
thing is that that's you know I'm trying to find the gentleman who wrote it. I think it was Optional Rules said earlier something about that they couldn't control Joe either. And I think by and large that's also part of it is that if they're going to have somebody go to this, if they're going to back somebody to this extent, they got to make sure that this person's going to be on board with their the game, you know what I mean,
their
their
vision.
way, you know. Um, you know, it's like Inan says, it's all about VTT and the plans for that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think, Tom? I mean, what do you think about? Do you think this falls into their plans for
Well, I
VTT
think
or goes against it or what?
I think Joe's had a good relationship with Watsy. That his character that stole the hand of Vecna actually got written into D&D canon.
Yeah.
They included him in one of their setting books, and so I think he's had a good relationship with Watsy. I think this was not like a consideration. Oh, we don't know if we can control Joe. I think it's less of that. But I think maybe Tenkar might have the truth of it more when it's getting rid of the tenants. Getting rid of the tenants, we're going to sell the apartment building.
Yeah.
That to me
Right.
makes a lot more sense in all of this and everything we've discussed. Even though I'm the one who threw up maybe he's not woke enough, because it hit my mind and I was thinking about it, but I really think Eric's probably more
Well,
correct.
The thing to,
go ahead.
no, go ahead for it. You're fine, Eric.
Well, I was going to say that, the fact that Joe brought that up at the end of the article, that it would probably take either new leadership or new ownership of the IP, which means a change at WotC or a change at Hasbro, or Dragonlance or D&D or WotC as a whole being sold off. He brought it up, and that's what got me thinking that, yeah, it almost seems like somebody is considering putting property up for sale, and when you do so, you want as few entanglements as possible for that sale to go through. I don't know.
But this would have been an easy win for them because
It
he's
would have been.
popular. He would have done a good job, and it would have been it's like a layup. Just
Well, Weiss and Hickman were also in favor of this.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I guess they had I guess the backing of Weiss and Hickman on
Yeah.
this.
so I mean, it
So,
was an easy layup, and I don't know why they didn't take it.
well, I mean, it's sort of like 50th anniversary. Okay, it's
They
I guess
dropped the
I'm
ball
I'm
on
going to harp
50th
on it.
anniversary too. I mean,
Well, we got the 50th anniversary of D&D. Here we are.
and they
Okay,
did diddly squat.
Diddley Squad. I think you're being over generous to him. I mean,
All right,
let's face it.
I just insulted Diddley.
Well,
I'm sure.
yeah, exactly. Because think about it this way. Here's their chance. What they could have done. They could have went ahead. Very minimal expense. They could have taken AD&D First Edition 1E or Beckme or oh sorry,
OD&D.
OD&D. Thank you. They could have took something like that and they could have re-released it, new packaging, updated. You know, they could have done something really cool, like maybe did a 50th anniversary video where they interviewed people. You know, me and Tim Cass was talking a couple weeks ago, and like I asked him, have you been in contact with WotC? And he was like, poof. You know, they don't care, and I don't understand how they cannot go back the 50th anniversary of all things, how they cannot go back to the roots of the game and do something.
They could, because originally we talk about the white box, but then we also talk about the wood grain box. It's 50th anniversary. You do the gold box, and you do the reprint, like you said, because gold isn't gold the 50th anniversary. I think
they
it's
did
gold.
the silver. They did the silver anniversary and made a big freaking hype of it.
Yeah, so you do a gold box and you do a nice reprint, clean it up a little bit, maybe some new art, because some of that line art was a little but I mean that was an easy layup, and people would have been like, shut up and take my money.
Well,
yeah,
remember the lead up to 5e was what? The wooden box reprint of original D&D. And it was the reprints of the AD&D core books.
Yep.
Right? These were money makers. Now they knew that time frame between you announce a new edition and you release a new edition, the ground goes fallow. All right, it's like you salted the earth. They found a way to make money when the earth was being salted, because people were going to hold their money back for the new edition. You gave them reprints of classic editions. They could have gone and they could have reprinted for this, right? If they were going to go through with this, they could have reprinted Dragonlance and put it out in a nice series or set. But I think the reality is that, and this is being said, I think by Anon in the chat, they are so focused on their VTT. By the way, I saw was it Roll for Combat earlier today, and Glicker was going over the original release dates for D&D 2024 that were
Yeah.
announced at PAX, and everything else that was announced at PAX. And now they announced yesterday, they announced what's coming out, and every release date was accurate except for the core books,
Yep.
which tells you the
The
core
core
books
books.
were likely going to be released in May.
Yeah.
But they aren't going to be. Now, why are they being drawn out into 2025? Because when that last book comes out, they need a working VTT. They can give you an alpha or an early beta in September with the player's handbook. But they know that by the time that they put those 3 books out and say, yes, we've fully released it, until then they can go, well, you know, the VTT, we haven't finished releasing the game yet.
Yeah.
So the VTT so they had to buy themselves nearly a year, and I still don't think they're going to hit that mark. And if they don't hit that mark my words, D&D 2024 is going to be no better than 4E. 4E, which was built to support a VTT that we never got.
Well, not only that, but it's almost like I mean, I'm sorry, but how can you not gear up for this and be ready for it? I mean, it's the incompetence, the utter incompetence being shown by Wizards of the Coast right now about all of this is astounding.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, everyone makes mistakes. Lord knows I've stepped on my own, you know what, before. I've misspoken. Lord knows I'm late on projects. You know, nothing you're proud of as a publisher, nothing you stand up and go, raise your hand. But on the same token, you at least communicate in some way with the people that have entrusted with you in your fan base. And they have just like totally went ahead and just dropped the ball. And like even like what me and Tim were talking about, and I think it was back. In fact, it was me, Tim, and Jim Wampler in the back patio at Tim's house. Was you've got 50th anniversary coming, and they're not in contact with any of the old guard, if you will, about doing nothing with them. I mean, these men and women are slow. We just lost Janelle Jacques, and these people are slowly but surely leaving us, sadly. And now's the time to get these people and get something going where there's a lasting memory that honors what they created. Because whether you like old D&D or not, whether you like a person's politics or whatnot, the bottom line is, if it was not for Jim Ward and Tim Kask and Frank Metzer and people like that are still with us, we would not be sitting here right now, gentlemen, talking about what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And to not honor them, just I don't get it. I don't get it as a company. And then you have someone young like
they could
Joe.
have done a 50th anniversary anthology and had something from Tim Kask. Get the cover from Clyde Caldwell. He's still kicking around. He didn't. Elmore. These guys. They don't do a lot of commissions anymore. But they could have thrown the money that would have been like, all right, I'll do one last painting for the 50th.
Yeah.
And these guys would have been. These guys are the nicest people. They would have been happy to do it. And you could have done a nice anthology, and we all would have tripped all over ourselves to throw money at WotC to get our hands on that.
I said this the other day in one of the 5E groups I'm in, and I was surprised how many younger players agreed with me. I said, can you imagine if they took the Orange Spine books and they did a re-release of them, not even updated, maybe just some new cover art, same contents, and just said 50th anniversary edition? I said people would be tripping over their own feet to buy a copy. Sure. And so many young people even who are not into the new older games would have said, I would have been right there and bought it too.
Well, how about just the Monster Manual 1, Monster Manual 2, and Fiend Folio all in one cover?
Yeah, exactly.
New cover art, maybe a little bit of new inside art. I mean.
True. Well, real quick, I have to break in here real quick, sure. Gentlemen, real quick. For those of you who are watching this video right now and they're not subscribed to my channel, for everyone who has subscribed to my channel, I'm doing something through the rest of February and through March. That is, I'm giving away. I like to quantify them as goodies, and these are some of the things that I'm giving away. We're going to do our first 2 giveaways tonight. I'm going to do one right now, but I want to kind of give an overview of what I'm giving away. I'm going to give away. This is a mixed bag. I'm going to give away a Wacom tablet with a Wacom pen. I'm going to be giving away the Deities and Demigods Orange Spine AD&D First Edition version with Call of Cthulhu in it. I'm giving away several deck of descriptions. Eric and Tom have a deck of them. They can tell you about them on another video, or you can go back to their content. They've done video on them. I'm giving away dice bags with a set of dice. All the dice bags are handmade by my wife. Very good quality. I'm going to be giving away Dungeon Master, Game Master's ID cards, the metal ones. I made some for Tom for preliminary for his Patreon, for Star Frontiers stuff. I'm going to be giving out our packs of our death certificates that you can make for players, Haunted Ruins modules, D20 Delving Game, Orange Spine Dragon Lance Adventures Manual. I'm giving away, those right there. They're stainless steel. Tom can tell you about them.
This one's plastic.
That one's, so I did the plastic ones. That's right. And then also I'm giving away Orange Spine Dragon Lance Adventures Manual, Legends and Lairs Monster Handbook, DC Heroes, Titan of Evermore game, Rolaids Wizards Manual, sets of dice, custom mouse pad, and then I'm giving away a thing called the Golden Ticket. And what the Golden Ticket's going to be is I'm doing a random drawing for it. The subscriber who gets the Golden Ticket gets one of every single thing we put out in 2024. And by the way, all of this stuff I'm giving away includes shipping directly to you. So what I want to do here is I want to do my first giveaway.
Sure.
Right now, real quick. You have to be a subscriber to the channel, so I'm going to hit refresh real quick on this. So if you ain't hit subscribe right now, you better hit it right now, because when I hit the 1, I'm hitting refresh, and I'm going to draw the name. And that is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. This is what I'm giving away. This is a Donkey Kong handmade dice bag by my wife and a set of polyhedral dice that goes with it. All right? Now, this includes shipping, so if you win, go ahead and drop me a PM or an email at info@wizardtowergames.com. Again, info@wizardtowergames.com. You can drop an email to me. Name, address, I'll ship it to you. If you don't see this till later, you have 1 week to claim your prize. If no one claims the prize by this under the name, I'm going to go ahead and I will be redrawing it next week, so we'll have a couple more. So I don't know how to do a randomizer publicly, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this, and I'm going to go ahead and it's going to do its thing. So it is thinking. All right, the name is someone named Michael Stronghold. So Michael Stronghold, if you see this, if you're in here, claim it. If you have not seen it, let me write this down anyway, I don't get your name wrong here. So he goes by the screen name Michael Stronghold. So I will try to reach out to you, Michael, via YouTube if you get this. So that's the first one. So congratulations, Michael Stronghold. Ta-da.
Very cool.
Next. So RPG Grandma says, the problem with Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast is they've lost focus on what their actual purpose is. Making games and toys the majority children and adults can relate versus trying to use the company to social engineer.
Yeah.
You know, I really think that, and I don't understand why they're dropping the ball at this level, but I mean, it's their circus, their monkeys, so to speak. So, their clown show. The Elk of Antioch says, I checked out Wheel of Time in the opening scenes of the boss bitch woman chasing evil dudes. I'm out. It's not profitable to do niche markets for a big company. It's not profitable, but the thing is although AD&D could be considered a niche market, I mean, and I'd like you guys' opinion on this, but don't you think, though, something like that would really sell well for them?
I don't know how you can call it a niche market when they did $1 billion during COVID.
But I'm talking about, I think she's talking more about or I'm talking about not D&D as a whole, but like niche where it would be like putting out a D&D 1E or maybe a redo of the BECME or the OD&D box set, like you said, the gold box set. That's
Mhm.
niche. Do you think that that could be? It's short term profitable because they would sell a lot initially, but do you think that would be something they'd be able to maintain? Let's just say for 6 months.
Well, yeah, I think a gold box set for a short term, like 6 months, 4 to 6 months, would sell. People would be like, "Oh, hey, if there was a little bit of Mardi Gras spirit to let's celebrate the 50th. This is a great game. It's coming of age. It's 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Woohoo!" But they have so alienated and attacked, with the legacy comment that they put on all the reprints on drive through. um, that they've so attacked anything old, they've got to stay away from celebrating anything old. Is what it feels like. That you know, and
Why do you think they did that, Tom? Or Eric? When Tom's
well,
done,
I think it was
his input is
virtue
done.
signaling. That oh hey, we
I know exactly why they did
go ahead, Eric.
it. Okay, so this was back when oh god, there was what was this channel? Asian Gamer or something like that. There was
Yes.
he was he was complaining about the take of Oriental Adventures, the original Oriental Adventures, and how he determined that it was racist. And I remember this only because I was in the hospital when this was all going down for my 3 week
Mm-hmm.
vacation back in 2020. And on a weekend, all of a sudden this disclaimer comes up, which doesn't capitalize Dungeons and Dragons, has like two or three misspellings, and it looked like it was written by an intern. And it
Oh no,
my
I remember that.
now my take on it is that somebody at WotC was hearing this negative impact, like, oh, we got to get in front of this, and they assigned it to somebody who then passed the buck down to like the one schmuck who couldn't say no, and that one schmuck who had access to the drive, or maybe it was the only guy who had access to drive through, to go in and make this change, and it was full of. I mean, if this is your own product line, you can't spell your own product. I think it was Dungeon and
Yeah,
Dragons or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
I
It
mean,
was so like what the
it was such a rush job, but it was to
yeah.
get in front of what they thought was going to be this huge bad publicity, and really, the bad publicity was drawing attention to any of the stuff
Yeah.
because it's a blanket. It's a blanket comment. All right. It isn't like anybody spent any time looking at the work and going, all right, Dark Sun deals with slavery. People and people could get upset with that. Yeah, that could use a disclaimer. Um, but
Yeah, it's sort of like what
every
they do with certain content in movies. Beware this contains harsh language, yada yada yada.
right, this is this
I have
is
no problem with that.
right, this is just a blanket.
Yeah.
Anything that was done before this date, whatever date they decided, I don't know, was it 2000? It actually applied to third edition stuff too. Is
Mm-hmm.
potentially going to offend somebody, and I know there are people that go, oh, Tenkar was for that TSR lawsuit because he just wishes he thought of it first. No, dude. First off, it was a foolish lawsuit, had no ground, but
Yeah.
or even just there was none, even the idea of it. But the
Yeah.
reality is, the disclaimer is the lazy man's way out, as opposed to going through your product and saying, "Hey, you know what? This one, in retrospect, yeah, it uses disclaimer. This one, there's nothing wrong with. Why are you putting a disclaimer on it? Oh, because we just put it on everything. Which, when you're doing that, you are slandering the creators from that time period and saying that no matter what work they did or who they were, their work is potentially offensive and less, but they don't care. It's the same
Well,
reason
what
why.
gets me
Well, they
well
did
what
the
gets
same
me
thing with the
Yeah,
controversy.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, well, that was from the original." No, it wasn't. That was your mistake. That was
Yeah.
you let that crap in there, and that was
And
your artwork. That was your mistake. You let
yeah,
that crap in.
and the thing is, what they're doing is by doing that, they're insulting the very people that really like. I'll give you an example. I mean, I'll def- I know very little about him personally, but what I know of him, you look at someone like the creator of all things of their big number one campaign world they're dealing with right now. You know, you're looking at the creator of Forgotten Realms. He is by far one of the most nicest, laid back. He is in by way, no way a racist, a bigot. He's not anti anything other than
He's a
hate
little bit of a
and
hippie. He's a nice
yeah,
guy.
exactly. He's a hell of a nice guy. And by having that in the forefront of his past works, it's kind of an insult. You know what I mean? It's like me saying, Eric, welcome to my show, Eric, and me having a shirt that says cops are pigs or whatnot. I mean, it's like I'm
ACAB.
insulting the man that's sitting here right now on my show. And that's what they're doing with this disclaimer is they're insulting like Larry Elmore and just all these people. Like Tim Kask, and I'm gonna say firsthand, I have had the chance many, many times now to have the pleasure of sitting down in his house with him. Tim Kask is one of the most open minded, welcoming individuals you'll ever meet in your life. The man doesn't have a racist or bigoted bone in his body that he's ever shown me. And the guy is just he emphasizes so much that let's play the game, man. Let's have
Yeah.
fun. You know what I mean? I mean, like with Tim, if you want to go out in my garage, just get fried and play D&D. You know what I mean? Let's have a good time. None of this stuff. And when people read these disclaimers and they don't know the person, they get this impression that, oh, maybe Tim Kask, that Tim Kask, he's part of that old game where they had to put that disclaimer in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's
They were all racist back then.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like what Tim says. Tim goes, they make it sound like Tim and Gary sat around their desk on William Street, popping the N word off and talking about how great the Klan was, and that's total bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, it's you're disrespecting the people that you're literally enjoying and sitting your ass on the foundation of what they created. Because if
Well,
it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have what you have.
I think they want to do away with anything that's old. They just want to be like, you know what? They want to forget about anything old and just kind of it didn't exist.
Well, they're happy to make money off their old IP, which is
Yeah.
what they're doing through drive-through slash the DM's Guild. You can buy print on demand and PDF of all their old stuff, and that's all pure profit. Okay, and when they put out, all right, so quick little history. WotC did the, oh my God, our stuff is being pirated. I don't know how many years ago, over 10, 12 years ago, and withdrew all their PDFs. A lot of them were
Yeah.
poorly scanned
Yeah.
without really warning you. And on top of that, you lost access to anything you already purchased, which was bullshit.
Yep.
Okay. So then when WotC returned and they started doing print on demands, they realized that whatever PDFs escape into the wild is inconsequential compared to the fact that this is a money machine that once set up. And by the way, these PDFs that are up there now and these print on demands, most of these are from donated books from the community.
Yeah,
People
you notice how
donated
some of
stuff.
them are skewed and they're
Yeah,
just really
but
horrible scans to begin with.
yeah, but I mean they were worse scans before, but these were people had to donate like good quality stuff to get cut up and professionally scanned. But this is pure profit for WotC. Once it's set up, there's no overhead. They're not even managing it. This is being managed by drive-through, and they get what was their number? Well, actually, on the DM's Guild stuff, they're probably getting about 70% of the PDF price, and then 70% of the after cost price on the print on demand for doing nothing, for work that was written 30, 40, 50 years ago.
And I'm willing to bet also, not only that, but WotC probably negotiated special royalty rates for themselves for allowing drive-through to have their product on their site because they know it's a drive.
Might be, there might be a little bit better than that too.
They're
But
inconsistent though, because I was sitting here and I pulled this out of this was part of a purchase I had, and if you can see, there was part of this was cut out of this, and it's basic,
Wait a
mold.
minute, Tom, is that a POD?
no,
No, this is old.
Oh, okay.
It's something I won in an eBay auction, and so I pulled
Okay.
it off the shelf to refer to here, and then I was like, oh, this is the crappy one because it's
Okay.
got. So I went on drive-through thinking I'll just get a reprint because a lot of these really old stuff that I use all the time, I like to have a reprint and not tear up, an original. And so I went on there. You can't get this as a POD. You can get this as a PDF, but for the expert, you can get that as a POD and the PDF. So I can buy the mold basic PDF, but I can't get the POD, the print on demand. But for the expert, the next book and rule book in line with this, I can. It's weird. So I was like, all right, well, I'll get the expert just to have a decent reprint.
But was there something in the non-POD version that had something that maybe they don't like?
I don't know.
That maybe they could have just simply just blacked it out or something. I don't know.
There's
why
nothing in here. This is such an accessible. There's no slavery in here. Even alignments are raw neutral chaos.
Alexander Stabinsky, thank you for that comment, but I do also need to real quickly say something about this. Okay, the reason why the Lost Adventures of Gary Conn have not been in print yet was this: is as everybody knows, and I owe an explanation here real quick. It's nothing dark or insidious. It's actually kind of just stupidly my fault, and that is when we are doing this, we're doing this and we're taking Tim's OD&D Tim Kask original version, okay, which is Tim Kask's own way of doing his adventures, which is very unique, and we're converting them also into AD&D and also 5e. What ended up happening is when you take them and you convert them. Hold on one second. Thank you very much. No, I'm good. Thank you. When you take a look at the 5e conversion, I had issues converting it to 5e because when Tim Kask wrote his module, it was just Tim knows his adventure. He knows the material. He knows the game better than anybody else, I think, around. And he wrote his adventure. Well, when I took it to AD&D, that's something I'm very, very comfortable with. So converting his into AD&D was just easy. Converting it into 5e, I thought I knew 5e. I had some pretty significant issues, so I had to involve a couple other people to help me with it, and that's what the delay's been, is getting this 5e conversion, because the last thing I want to have happen is people who are buying it to play 5e, they get it, and they start red flagging it. So that's the reason why we got delayed on it, but the final bits and pieces, actually, as of Friday night, the meeting will be held. They're done. And since I do my own printing, you're going to see the first videos of my print shop in action. I'm going to do some videos next week of us actually printing the book so people get to know what our capabilities are here also. So,
nice.
Yeah.
So
cool.
I'm off on my tangent.
And at least you were determined to do it right, not half-ass. I mean, we could certainly bring up publishers to do things half-ass.
Well, thank you very much. But also along with that, just so everybody know, and this is kind of a side note for Tim. Tim sent me a large stack of old stuff that never has been published before. And we're going to be taking his stuff and we're going to be publishing it. But the way we're going to be doing is publishing from now on with any modules. And we're also doing this just for general Wizard Tower game stuff is we're going to be like, as an example, the next one is an adventure called All's Not Well in Boscadell. And it is something that Tim Kask holds really close to his heart. It's where you could take the role of a mouse and be a mouse as an adventurer or a mole or whatnot. And what we're going to do is, instead of putting them out like one module, 5e content, 1e, you're going to have a choice. You can have it in the original Tim Kask OD&D, or you can have it in 5e. So there's going to be two separate versions printed, one for 5e lovers, one for old school lovers. And that's how we're going to start doing pretty much everything here. But lots of stuff coming from Tim Kask, including stuff that nobody has ever seen before because it's never been publicly published.
Cool.
So I want to just get that out of the way. I know it's a plug, but also I think it's important for people to know that the delay in the game was my fault just because I thought I knew 5e better than I did. So sorry. My apologies.
At least you were willing to fall on your sword and say, all right, I need help from other people. Do it right.
You have to. I did need help from other people. Snow in Michigan, Cal, smart Alec. Juboki, thank you for tuning into our video. Juboki says, even free online stuff. At one time, WotC had the yellow cover of B3 Into the City of Brass as free downloads. How hard is that? What do you guys all think about free downloads? I mean, do you think that they were something if WotC did that would help them? Because my thinking is, if you have a 3 module set, what you do is you give the first one away for free, maybe, and then I'm talking about the old stuff, not the new stuff where they got to make profit, but you put the first one out and then you give a discount on the next 2 to try to draw people into the game. What's your guys' take on that?
Well, Baen Publishing. I don't know if you're familiar with Baen, Baen. They publish sci-fi, fantasy novels. They have a free library online with multiple formats, and it's usually like the first 1 or 2 books in their most popular series by their most popular.
Okay.
And so you can go online. I love the Honor Harrington series. You can read 2 novels online. You can download them for Kindle. You can download them for different formats. But they actually have them as each chapter is a web page. So you can. I've been at work reading novels on the computer. I got a tab open over here, and I just hit the next chapter, and all right, I'm reading, and doing late night. You're doing work at overnights, so you can get away with something like that. But I love Baen for that, and I actually got hooked on their stuff because I went into a Barnes and Noble. I had a sales call. I was too early for it, so you can't show up early. You want to show up on time. And I went in and got a coffee, and I thought, well, I'll just read something and then leave it here. And I'm going up and down the aisles with my coffee looking for just something to read for the half hour to make time pass. And I see On Basilisk Station, special $1.99 copy of this novel. And I think, well, this looks kind of interesting. And I started reading it, and I thought, for $1.99, this book's going with me because it's too good. And so for $1.99, they didn't make any profit on it, but they hooked me in, and then I bought everything David Weber after that. So they made a lot of money on me for giving something away. And, they, by giving a little bit away, they made more. And then I've converted other people to being fans and been like, hey, here's a copy of On Basilisk Station. You're going to love me and hate me for giving this to you, because you'll have to go out and buy all the other books in the series.
Now, real quick, for those of you watching this, Eric Tenkar and Tom are far well better known than I, but if you are a subscriber of my channel and you have not subscribed to theirs, head over to their channels and subscribe to them. Eric and Tom do a lot of really good commentary on gaming and such. So it kind of leads into my next little thing here. I know it's getting late. We've been already an hour now, so we're going to be tying this up here in a moment. But Eric, start with you because you're up to the top real quick. Tell a little bit about your channel, just for people in general. I know I'm kind of like beating the dead bush here because everybody knows who you are, but a little bit about your channel, what you do, why do you do it, and such.
All right. Well, before I did a YouTube channel, I did a podcast. Before I did a podcast, I did a blog, 10carstavern.com. That blog is still going. It is pretty much daily. I think I missed one day last year.
Shame.
I know. It was a total
shame.
But the blog side mostly covers things like new releases, Kickstarters, deals of the day, stuff that you should be looking at if you're looking to expand your gaming collection. But this side, the YouTube side, is more gaming news, gaming thoughts. I try to keep on top of what's going on with WotC, D&D, other events in the gaming industry, OSR particularly. So it keeps me busy. And live streams on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Now, real
So
quick, I'm going to plug real quick because I'm going to plug a little bit about both of you in my opinion.
okay.
Saturdays, Eric and his wife Rach do something that is so flippin' unique. And Eric will tell you, if I miss one of these episodes, I usually message him and apologize for missing it because he does a thing called Gamers Health. And it's him and his beautiful wife. And what they do is they get on there and they really talk about issues with gamers. It's not political BS. It's not anything like that. It's really core. They really give a shit and they really care about gamers. And they talk about things like veteran suicide. And they talk about and they just put up a new your group forum, Eric.
Oh yeah.
That you put up.
Thanks to you, yes. Gamershealthonline.com.
Yep. Yep.
So by the way, I'm supposed to let everybody know that this Saturday, Rach is going to do what is it the anti-heroin medicine
You're talking about
the OD
yeah.
Methadone.
no
Not methadone. They sprayed up your nose.
Yeah.
Actually, they now just real quick they prescribe that when I have pain medication that they give me for my medical condition.
Right.
And I went to pick up my pain meds back on the 1st. They wanted to prescribe me that automatically because in Michigan now, any narcotic pain medication, they give you that automatically just in case you start ODing, you can administer it or your family can give it to you.
Oh.
It's called, I'm going off the top of my head, it starts with an N.
Narcan.
Narcan.
Narcan. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So
Yeah.
we're going to do a demonstration with actual Narcan. Rach has it. We're going to, so folks will
awesome.
know. Rach was trained in training people how to use it.
Yep.
So that's going to be this Saturday. It's part of what we're going to be doing. We were going to do it last Saturday, but our niece and her girlfriend were over. So not a subject you want to do if the kids are going to be walking in. Just
But this is exactly what I'm talking about. About all three of us, we produce content because we want people to subscribe and of course look at our videos and hear what we have to say. We have a message, and I'm not trying to make light of Tom's channel or mine, but very few channels put out something that really has something that the public really could watch. They really could get something. I mean, no matter what your point of view is, like you just did something a few weeks ago about talking about online suicide and getting the helplines and you're talking about that. I mean, wow. I mean, I've just been blown away by your show, your Rachel's show, Eric, on Gamers Health. That's just one that I try not to miss.
Tammy and I are fans of Gamers Health.
Absolutely.
So if I'm like distracted and got my head buried in a bubble somewhere, she'll be like, Gamers Health is going to be on. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right.
Can't miss. It's like family. It's like a family gathering, honestly. Alex, yes. St. Patty's Day will be of this year will be 8 years retired. So yes, I did 20 years in the NYPD. But
20 years NYPD.
And listen, I'll be very happy when I'm 20 years retiring. I say, when I have more years of retirement than actual service, then I'll really be happy.
Now, Tom, tell us about your channel. Give us some feedback, some background. I know that Tammy's in depth in it also.
Yeah, well, Tammy's usually in the background, and sometimes she comments on the videos. I'm a little bit all over the place. I've tried to cover news. When Eric got slapped with a certain lawsuit, and he could no longer speak about a particular topic, I tried to be the guy that picked up the slack there and covered that topic. So and I can't wait to hand the baton back to Eric. I think that's coming soon, and I can't wait to watch Eric cover that particular topic. soon. I believe it's coming. But so I've been the point man on that for a while. I try to do justice by that, and I hope I do. The latest thing that we're doing is I kind of got Eric's Dungeon Gate. I would have called it Zach Smith Gate.
Well,
Zach
yeah.
Smith Apology Gate is what I would have named it. Another name out there that's very rude and I don't like. And Eric was wise to switch to Dungeon Gate, which is a perfectly good name. I kept getting derailed on covering that. So sometimes I'm like, you know what, Eric said enough. I'm just not going to cover, this topic. But this week we are doing, I was just editing before I came on the show, the Foundations of the Satanic Panic. And I originally did this video. It was an hour long, and I thought too long. Let's cut it into 3 parts. And so I'm redoing it as 3 different videos. And so it's something that's of interest to some gamers. Some people might care, some people might not. I think I'm going to be bringing some new information out from my research on that. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. It's whatever catches my interest in part, and if there's a controversy that's good, we can kick Wizards of the Coast a little bit. That's an easy dog to kick. The other controversies that come up, I'll cover those, but generally it's just whatever catches my interest. And
well, there's something else about you that you're not mentioning. Now I'm going to go ahead and mention it. And this is something that I like about your channel is, not only when you're doing your content, you have a really unique, sharp, and I think this is both of our British upbringing. You got that unique, sharp wit about you that really brings something, a little bit of humor into it, even the serious issues. But also, you also do the Frontiersman. You are a big Star Frontiers fan. You are a little database of Star Frontiers content, and I'm going to lecture you a little bit live on camera here with a bunch of people. You need to get back into your live gaming. I really enjoyed it when you were doing your live games, and such.
On that point, I had a couple of the live games sitting in my StreamYard. You know how when you go in there and you see your older videos?
Mm-hmm.
And I was late paying them, so they actually dropped some videos off, and they're no longer available. And I was leaving it there. I was like, oh, that's a good place to leave it, and I don't have to save it on my computer, which is always chronically tight of space. And so because of that little mix-up, I've now lost some of those live stream games. That's where they were residing, and I was like, oh, shoot. Yep. Those were some funny games because the players just did stuff that was absolutely hilarious. And, I was like, oh my, I'm laughing my butt off as the game master, and these people are just cracking me up. And, so sadly I lost some of those. So funny you bring that up.
Well, like I said, I really hope that people who have not subscribed to Eric or Tom's channel goes over to their channels and subscribes to them, because the content they put out is really good stuff. And, we've been online now for an hour and 15 minutes almost. So I'm probably going to cut this off now because we've kind of just ran the cycle. But Eric and Tom, thank you very much for tuning in.
Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah. And to everybody else, thank you very much for tuning in and such. Like I said, I do this every Tuesday night now at 8 o'clock through February and March. We're going to be doing the giveaways. So definitely hit that subscribe button. You're going to help my channel out, and you can get selected to win something really cool. Next week, we're going to be giving away, I think next week I'm going to be giving away, I'm probably going to go ahead and give a copy of D20 Delving out, because that is right now, any day now, hitting the FedEx. Once it hits a FedEx hub, I have a hold on it. I can go pick it up because it's already been released by Customs Security.
Oh, finally.
Holy crap. Man, tell me about it. I'll tell you what, that has just been a huge, huge thing. But just let everybody know about D20 Delving. Got confirmation. U.S. Customs has released it. So now, because I think they send it from China via DHL or DH something, and then once it hits customs, it's cleared, it goes and is transferred over to FedEx. FedEx has a hold on it, so when FedEx gets it, I'll get a notification, my tracking number, and I'll go pick it up. So
fantastic.
So D20 Delving and the Krampus packs are going to be finally in people's hands, and that's going to make me and Tim very, very happy. Tim's voice really did something nice about this, and to let everybody know, Tim knows about this because me and Tim's been in contact and doing about all this, but we are going to be covered, and there's going to be a story ran about us by National Public Radio, NPR. They have,
Oh, awesome.
yep, we've been keeping
Awesome.
this under wraps for about 6 months now, but they reached out and said the whole idea of helping the blind, helping the sight impaired, with this unique way of presenting games. It's a new thing. They're going to be doing me and Tim. It's going to be a radio interview. It's not on camera or nothing,
Right.
but it's going to be on NPR. We're looking forward to it, and yeah. So, and when possible, I'm going to be utilizing the what do you call it, the QR code technology when I can with my games. Some games it's just not practical,
Yeah.
but when they're going to definitely be that. And before we go, real quick, Tim Kask. If it was not for Tim Kask, I'll tell you what, this would not have happened. Tim and his, Tim can come across kind of grumpy, the curmudgeon in the cellar, but I'll tell you what, he is a hell of a nice man, and he is gracious. And if he can help you, he is more than happy to help you.
Heart of
And
gold on that man.
oh my God, he's got a heart of gold on him. And
And by the way, that QR code, you put a QR code on my my Streel ID card for Star Frontiers, and I do believe that QR code points at my Patreon.
yes, it does.
And you set that up for me, and I was like, man, that's a nice touch. I really like what you're doing with this QR code technology.
Yep.
And
So we're going to be implementing the QR codes even more. I have also involved somebody else besides David Flores working on a project, but we're going to be putting some literal phone apps out for our games that are going to be kind of unique and different, which I'll be getting more into
cool.
once we have some play tests. So again, Eric and Tom, thank you very much for coming on my show. I really do appreciate this a lot.
No, we're
And,
very happy.
Thank you to my
Happy
viewers,
to be
and
here.
thank you to Eric and Tom's viewers for stopping by. And if you hit a subscribe again, you help me a lot. So this is Don with Wizard Tower Games signing off. Hope everybody has a good night. Again, hit that subscribe button.
You good?
Tom, Eric,
Well.
adios. And everybody else, have a safe week. Happy gaming.
Happy gaming.